Good morning. This video is to help with expanding expressions and using the distributive property. So here we have a question that says, write an expression that is equivalent to -3 parentheses, which when a number is beside the parentheses without a symbol in between the number and the parentheses, that represents multiplication or the distributive property. -3 times 4x minus 0.50. -3 times 4x minus 5/10. So the -3 is being distributed or multiplied to each term, 4x and -0.50. So we need to multiply -3 times 4x. A negative times a positive is a negative, so -12x. And we need to multiply -3 times -0.5, which is going to give me a positive, and 0.5 times 3 is 1.5. So our equivalent expression after expansion, so we expanded the expression by using the distributive property to get an equivalent expression. It's very important to pay attention to signs. We have a negative times a positive, which is a negative. But then when we multiply here, we have a negative times a negative, which is a positive, which is why you can see I put a plus sign. The sign in front of a number tells you if it's positive or negative. Here's another example of using the distributive property. We want to write an expression, and we're going to simplify our expression. But first, you have two options. You can simplify inside the parentheses first by combining like terms, or you could go ahead and distribute first. Either option is fine. I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 2 because that is the number outside the parentheses. So the 2 needs to be multiplied by 14x, -3y, positive 28x, positive 12.2, -5y, and -17.5. I need to pay attention to signs. A positive 2 times a positive 14x is 28x. A positive 2 times a -3y is -6y. A positive 2 times a positive 28x is positive 56x. Positive 2 times positive 12.2 is positive 24.4. Positive 2 times -5y is -10y. And then positive 2 times -17.5 is -35. So this expression is equivalent. I've expanded by using the distributive property, but I could simplify further by combining like terms. Like terms have the same variable. So here we have 28x. Are there any other terms with just an x? Yes, we have 56x. Both are positive. Notice I highlighted the sign in front of the term because the sign in front of the term tells me if it's positive or negative. When we add 28x and 56x, we add to get 84x. Now look at the next term that we have not used, and that is -6y. Look for any other terms with y, and we have -10y. Again, pay attention to the sign in front of a term. It tells you if it's positive or negative. -6 and -10 combine to give me -16y. And last, we have our constants, A constant is a number without a variable. And again, you want to pay close attention to that constant is positive and that constant is negative. So when you're adding a positive and a negative, it is subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So 35 minus 24.4 is 10.6. And our larger absolute value is negative, so the 10.6 is negative, so minus 10.6. Now we have an expression where we have expanded and simplified by combining like terms. The last example here is using the distributive property twice and then looking to see if there are any like terms we can combine. In this first parentheses, 1/2 x minus 2, each of those terms is being multiplied by positive 30. In this second parentheses, 3/4 y minus 4, each of those terms is being multiplied by positive 40. Notice I paid attention to the sign that was in front of that term to know what I am distributing to the parentheses. When I distribute 30 times 1/2, I can put my whole number over 1 and multiply straight across, and that gives me 30 times 1 over 1 times 2. 30 divided by 2, 15x. Then when I distribute 30 times negative 2, I get negative 60. Now I need to distribute in this parentheses 40 times 3/4. So 40 over 1 times 3 over 4 is equal to 120 over 4. Or I could cross simplify by dividing 4 and 40 by the same number. They're both divisible by 4. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 10 times 3 is 30 in the numerator. 1 times 1 is 1 in the denominator. And 30 over 1 is 30. So when I multiplied 40 times 3/4, I get positive 30y. Now I need to multiply a positive 40 times a negative 4. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 40 times 4 is 160, so minus 160. I've expanded using the distributive property. Now I need to see if I have like terms. Are there any other terms with an x? No, so I can bring down 15x. Are there any other terms with a y? No, so I need to bring down my positive 30y. And then I'm left with two numbers that do not have a variable. That is called constants. Pay close attention to the sign, negative 60, negative 160, negative 60 minus 60. So I'm going to add and take the sign. So 60 and 160 is 240, and it is negative. If you wanted to look at this as negative 60 minus 160, you could also change it to add the opposite, and you can see that both numbers are negative, same sign, add and keep. Now you can write this final answer in a variety of ways because we have three separate terms that are being combined. So you could say 15x plus 30y, or 30y plus 15x minus 240 would be equal because we use the commutative property to switch the order. If we change the order with the minus 240, let's say we wanted to put the constant in front, which is not what we usually do, but if we did, we would have to keep it negative 240 plus 15x plus 30y. That would be an equivalent expression. So you can see as long as you keep the sign of the number the same, because this is like add a negative, when you change your subtraction to addition, it changes the sign of the following term. So you can see that with the commutative property of addition, you may need to notice in your answers the order in which it is written. The order could look a little bit different than the order that you come up with. Hope that helped, and thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.